Lovely.
Yay.
Hey, we don't know how much time we have, but we would love to tell you a little bit about the video that you just saw. So the paradigm that we've designed is a truth eliciting paradigm where a user wears an EEG cap and they're presented with various faces. So there's 9 suspects that the subject is able to choose between, and the subject chooses one, and that becomes their accomplice. Could you unfold this?
Yes.
After they choose an accomplice, they train on the image of their face. And while training on the image of their face, they become familiar with what that individual looks like. So then when they're presented several stimuli of people who they are unfamiliar with and one person who they are familiar with, we're able to differentiate their P300 response because the person that they're familiar with will elicit a slightly larger P300 response. And we're able to make a determination, like you kind of saw at the end of that fast-forwarded video, as to who the subject was familiar with. So this could be useful in actual applications, and that's why we're using terms like accomplice and suspects, because if you had a lineup and you needed to determine which person a criminal actually knew, you could essentially use this to determine their guilty knowledge, basically, without them voluntarily giving it to you. Whereas a physiological lie detector can be cheated because you can try and stop yourself from jittering, or maybe you don't sweat as much or something like that. Unfortunately, we didn't know we were going to present, so our live demo is a bit too far behind. It takes about 3 minutes to run a full trial, so I don't think we'll be able to get through with that. But we could at least show you what the intro looks like, since you couldn't really see that on the fast-forwarded bit. You want to explain, Steven?
Yes. Additionally, due to our lack of preparation, the size of the screen is currently incorrect. We're just going to click through it anyway. So as you can see, we are having the computer play Clue as if it were a Clue player. So what it is trying to do, rather than trying to guess what is in my hand by asking me questions, it is trying to guess what is in my brain by interrogating me using a probe and a target, right? So what we are going to do, I'm going to assume the role of this lowly maid serving Lord Dawson in his manor. I want to move up in the world. I'm ready to do things, and one of these things is to commit a murder. Myself and my accomplice decide we're going to murder him at an upcoming dinner party. I am going to be the one opening up the safe with the gun. My accomplice is going to commit the murder. So, you, as the judges in this case, were we to have enough time, would be choosing one of these provided images, and they are randomized in the sense that none of my partners know which image is which. I would study the face for a few minutes, again, skipping this since we're low on time, but that's what we did in the video. And essentially what's happening here is we're crafting a story that I begin to associate with this image of my accomplice. Now, I'm in custody, and what is going to happen is I'm going to go through a trial where I see this face, which is the target, and the P300 classifier is going to compare my response to this image versus my response to all of these different images, find which one of these is the most similar to this, and that's how it knows who my accomplice is. So to just show you what the actual trial is going to look like, the 10-second countdown.
And so the user, Steven, is unfamiliar with all of these faces except for the one he pulled from the envelope. So that would be his guilty knowledge. So
Maybe while we're he's training, if we do have any remaining time, we can answer some questions.
that would be awesome.
This model should be trained in about 2 minutes.
So what is your accuracy rate?
So with 7 suspects, we achieved an accuracy of about 80%, and that's with 2 minutes of data collection. So 2 minutes of data collection, 7 subjects, 80% accuracy. We would love to take any other questions. We don't know how we're doing on time, unfortunately.
What market do you see this fitting in?
That's actually a great question because initially we really wanted to work on some sort of actual lie detector that could work in the criminal justice system. Right now what we have is something more of a parlor trick, and that's why we decided to gamify it in the context of Clue. So I think in this current paradigm, it's more of just an interesting EEG-based game that you can use to effectively read someone's mind, and it doesn't necessarily have any applications outside of entertainment. But if we were to make the paradigm a bit more robust, it could be used in actual interrogation scenarios.
Or a murder mystery party.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Do you see any health? Would it be potentially for, could you use it to train the brain for something?
So the P300 is primarily an output-related system. I mean, we're not using it for feedback in any way. The other uses of P300 have been medical in nature. So most famously is the P300 speller, which is it allows people with tetraplegia and paralysis to control a keyboard by basically using a similar paradigm where they stare at keys on a keyboard, unable to move their hands to control that keyboard. And as images are flashed, they're able to determine that a P300 was flashed when the user when a T was flashed. Therefore, the user was probably looking at a T, and that allows people with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis or multiple sclerosis or tetraplegia to be able to type with a keyboard, for example. Aside from that, we haven't explored any medical uses.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Oh, sorry. Everybody again.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you
We
guys.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.